Hello and welcome to Plus Sports on Plus TV Africa. It's Wednesday, and of course, you have me as your host, Mikhail Tinubu. It's been a terrible night, last night that is, for Manchester United fans. Firstly, the talismanic striker that would have made a big difference in the match could not be available, and of course, that might have contributed to the further humiliation they received at the hands of Liverpool. But we'll get to that soon. Firstly, we'll start with Nigeria's Super Eagles, who have been drawn alongside Sierra Leone in the qualifiers for next year's African Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast. The Nigerians will also face Guinea-Bissau and Sao Tome and Principe in the group stage of the 2021 AFCON. Nigeria has been assigned to Group A in the qualifiers, which will begin in June. The tournament is divided into 12 groups, with the top 2 teams from each group automatically qualifying. The draws took place at Super Sports Studios in Johannesburg, South Africa. I have Victor Godfrey with me today. Victor?
Good morning, Mukai. How are you?
Welcome on the show. I really appreciate your presence, and I think it's worth mentioning that Nigeria is still in the middle of trying to nail down a coach going forward. Regardless of who that coach ends up being, we've heard stories that Mr. Majupinik prefers a foreign coach, and Pissarro is favorites to take that job. But we're not going to talk about tactics or setup. What I want to know is, does Nigeria have a chance at redeeming its glory in the next AFCON?
That's a very funny question to ask when you say, do we have a chance? Because it gets to a point whereby when you're nervous of a qualifying group that has Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau, and Sao Tome and Principe. By the way, Lagos, in terms of geographical size, is bigger than Sao Tome and Principe, just to add.
Yes.
If you get with these teams, that tells you the level you've gotten to. In the famous words of the Portuguese legendary coach, Jose Mourinho, he says something called football heritage. Based on football heritage, Nigeria should qualify. But obviously, we know that we have played very poorly against even a team in that group called Sierra Leone. We played at a 4-4 draw.
Exactly, which is my motivation for asking the question. Even a team like Sierra Leone, when we are playing so poorly, when there's such inconsistency in the principle of football that we're employing, when homegrown talent doesn't seem to make its way into the national team, homegrown managers don't seem to make a difference, and the Majupinik administration will continue to be at the helm going forward until we play this qualifiers, until we probably end up, if we end up qualifying, going for the tournament proper. If this administration has done so poorly, what is the likelihood that it can change the fortunes of the Super Eagles? What is the likelihood?
So as we've all seen now, based on the results of this administration talking about our football, they have performed very poorly in terms of development of Nigerian football. So we're not coming from that point of view. If it's from a merchandise or branding, I mean, I'm pretty sure during the qualifying series we'll wear brand new jerseys from our sponsors. We'll look all beautiful like a fashion show, and then obviously we'll have our hats in our mouth in certain matches. You would expect the toughest opponent in that group will most likely be Sierra Leone because they performed well at the Nations Cup. I was in Japoma in Douala when they played out a draw with Algeria, almost winning that match even. So, and Algeria at the time were defending champions. So Sierra Leone are no pushovers in that group. Based on administration, we know that we're going to. I mean, we will suffer. That's the truth. So the only way we're going to win this match is just through the grit and determination, and most likely skill level, and perhaps luck on the day if the players just click on that particular day. If Osimhen has his goal scoring boots on, if he's going to play, or whatever the case is, if our goalkeepers, either Maduka or Zoro, don't make incredible goalkeeping errors, then we may just win the game and qualify. I can assure Nigerians we're not going to have a 100% record. We're not going to get 18 points from those matches. That's not going to happen. So it's going to be a very tough. Let's wait and see if they play a draw. But if we win two, get 3 points.
Victor,
Different. Yeah.
I do have one question that is significant regarding the Majapinic administration, our perceptions as a football-loving nation. Do we need to boycott watching the team?
Unfortunately, football is one of the very few, if only I would say, I dare say if only, unifying factor we have as a country. I mean, we are well aware, if we stop talking about football, we are aware that Nigeria as a nation is in dire straits. So football is it's like an opium, it's like an escape, a source of escapism for many Nigerians. It's for that 90 minutes, we are united as one, with one voice. Like there's no division, no nepotism, no tribal prejudice. Everything is just we are one Nigeria. So it's going to be very difficult for fans of the Super Eagles. I mean, most of us, like myself personally, minus working in the sports media industry, I love the Super Eagles as a part of the first team I supported as a boy. So it would be hard to say I don't want to watch my team, but it is also very hard to watch your team suffer all these years. And the only good thing you have about the Super Eagles is just beautiful jerseys. I keep saying this. So yes, the administration made our football suffer. Like you mentioned, we don't really have any homegrown Super Eagles. I mean, the last time we won the Nations Cup, it was a home-based Super Eagles player that actually scored the winning goal at our last Nations Cup victory.
Yes.
It wasn't a foreigner. With all due respect to all the players we have in the diaspora who are mixed or biracial, that have mixed heritage from Europe or other parts of the world, we still need to develop our own here. And
even our captain at that time was a player who started his roots in Nigeria.
All of them did, actually. But bulk of the team that won it in 2013 all had wonderful footballing careers in the Nigerian Professional League or the Nigerian Premier League as it was called back then. All of them, Enyama, who, from my own point of view, the best Nigerian goalkeeper yet, till date. We all saw his exploits with Enyimba winning the CAF Champions League. That showed you how good Nigerian football was back then. Even though at that time we were even still complaining like, oh, our football is a mess. But now, compared to what we have now, that was fantastic times. With all due respect to foreign players, like we've established, most of those players can't play in their birth countries. I mean, Ademola Lookman came to play for Nigeria because he obviously can't get into the England national team. Our current number one goalkeeper, Maduka Okoye, has German heritage. I can bet you that Maduka Okoye is not getting to that German setup. There are many great goalkeepers in German football currently, and there's no Maduka will make the top four.
All right, so Victor, I do want to move on quickly because we have limited time. Of course, we have to talk about the Liverpool match against Manchester United. Mohamed Salah scored twice as Liverpool comfortably beat old rivals Manchester United 4-0. The truth is, this result was not unprecedented, not unforeseen, and the fact that Ronaldo was missing in action, not available for selection, it was a virtual certainty that Manchester United would not be able to respond in kind with any goals or any goal threats because the defense is obviously a shamble. The only option is to try to attack. And unfortunately, I watched the match and even the forward line looked completely bereft of ideas. Victor.
Only one department in Manchester United that's actually working right now, and that's the goalkeeping department. David De Gea, and perhaps maybe the second choice goalkeeper in Dean Henderson. But the rest of the squad, like you mentioned, even the younger players, the likes of Elanga, and there's a young man that made his debut yesterday with the fuzzy hair. I can't remember his name. All these players don't even have a good example. The only example that they can follow is that of Ronaldo, and we can see clearly that he has been the shining light for United this season. The decay at United it's obviously just like what we're experiencing in the Super Eagles. The administration at the club is in shambles, like you mentioned. And quite frankly, the transfer policy is also to play. They have actually not signed the right players. And then for some weird reason, the ones they have there think they're actually top-level players. Though they are in certain instances, like when they play for the national teams, you can't deny that Paul Pogba, a World Cup winner at every level, is not a good player, or even Bruno Fernandes. These are top level internationals that play for their countries. Even Fred, and to just mention it, even Maguire, as fate will have it, as funny as it sounds, when he plays for England, he is actually half decent. But you ask yourself and you scratch your head, like, what happens when they don the United jersey? You mentioned that the game, it wasn't a surprise to football analysts and experts. We all knew, even football fans knew that they were going to lose, but nobody thought it was going to be as bad as it is. I mean, United find new levels of lows to showcase to their audiences or to their fans. Another example, or another team that perhaps has played as badly as United that were once great is only Arsenal. So I think United has joined that Banter FC league, and it's just Arsenal and then United now, in that, just like it was back in the day when there were two good teams. They're now with the rivalry of which team can embarrass their fans the most.
Before we move on, Victor, I want to listen to what both managers actually had to say, their assessment of the match. Two questions about this, and I want your quickest assessment, Victor. Do you agree with Ralph Rangnick that the players have not checked out? And secondly, is Liverpool a better team? Do they have better players than Manchester United?
Actually, on paper, Liverpool have better players than United. On paper, like if you single those players out individually, you think to yourself, "Wow, these players shouldn't be better than United based on just being on paper." But on the reflection on the pitch, obviously, the Liverpool players do something that the Man United players don't do. They work hard. They sweat and earn their keep, so to speak. Yes, United need to rebuild. That's obvious. And as for Ralph Rangnick's opinion, I'm actually glad that someone from the outside who is not Roy Keane or Gary Neville, any of the old British, former players who always talk about these things, is being objective. And he has said the truth. Man U need build, and the players that they have are not good enough to play at the levels that they were once at one point, another person. So yes, they need to rebuild. The players may not be as good as they think they are, but they don't even put in the work. And yes, they've checked out mentally. Look at Paul Pogba's body language. Even the last match, there's a gesture he made towards the fans, towards when he was leaving the stadium. He put his hand to his ear as they were booing him. That tells you his mind is not in fact. I won't be surprised when he announces he's leaving United at the end of the season. That's for sure. All checked out. That's the truth. Marcus Rashford looks defeated. Rashford, that's not Rashford of 2 or 3 years ago. He looks like a shadow of himself, a shell of a man. And the list goes on with all the players. Bruno Fernandes, who can't play 2 seconds without complaining and moaning and crying like a baby. So Man U is a club right now that just, if we can even end the season and say, you know what, deduct all the points from the last 5 games and let's just end up wherever I want to end up. And they should forget about the Champions League next season. They need to rebuild slowly from the top up. Forget Europe. Forget the Europa League or Conference League. Just play normal league football and build in the next 3-4 years. Because Liverpool went through the same thing. Not this bad, but
true.
They had to rebuild. Klopp had time. Had about 4 years to build what they have now. Man, you need that patience. Not sacking managers when maybe after 5 hard matches. You need to give them time. So I agree with that assessment.
All right, let's move on to another big team, another Manchester team. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola said on Tuesday, April 19th, that every game was like a final as the Premier League leaders looked to hold off challengers Liverpool in the deciding stretch of the season and claim a second straight title. City have a 1-point advantage at the top heading into the last 7 games of the campaign. Liverpool can provisionally overtake City with victory, which they did over Manchester United. But Guardiola said their focus was only on Brighton, who won at Arsenal and Tottenham in recent weeks, with reports suggesting City were in pole position to sign highly sought after Borussia Dortmund striker Erling Haaland. Guardiola remained mum. Right back Kyle Walker will miss the Brighton clash after picking up an injury against Atletico Madrid in their Champions League quarterfinals last week. But centre-half Ruben Dias could return after a long layoff. It is typical for Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola to be coy regarding transfer rumours. But going into the final few games of the season, who has a better chance? Liverpool is just 1 point behind Manchester City. The game between both teams, the second Premier League matchup of the season, has come, has gone. No change in position, no determination about where it's going to end up. So, what does the future look like for these two teams?
Man City actually wins the title in my opinion. Liverpool are in rare form. They are trying to do something that hasn't been done in football, which is win the quadruple. But I just feel that Man City, minus their very unimpressive performance, of course, due to injuries and some players being rested against Liverpool in the FA Cup over the weekend, Man City actually watched Man City play. They are the team that most likely are more assured in the back and also very, very deadly going forward. With Liverpool, they can score 4 goals in a game, but yes, still they could also be very vulnerable. They can concede 3. You know, they are very, very. As much as they score, they also concede goals. People don't realize that. So I will still give it to City. They have on paper the easier run of fixtures. Liverpool still have some really top teams. I mean, they beat United. United is not a top team anymore, in my point of view. But I'm sure they have other teams that will maybe give them a run for their money who are willing to work hard. So I think City will still do it. They have a tricky fixture today, I think, against Brighton, but I still feel City are the ones to win the title.
If Manchester City signed Erling Haaland,
Game over.
Game over in the Premier League.
Yeah, that's it. There's not. What else? Let's be honest with ourselves. If Manchester City sign Haaland, which I think they will, I believe those rumors and reports are true, it's over because he's young. You've seen him Dortmund, and Dortmund don't even play half as much as well as City. So just imagine, De Bruyne, Silva, and all these fantastic forward, all these amazingly talented forward players just feeding him easy balls.
But do you think a lot has been said about the kind of football that Manchester City plays? So not just any kind of striker can come in and fit right in. Pep Guardiola did not want Cristiano Ronaldo, amazingly. Is Erling Haaland a right fit? He's a big man after all.
He is. See, Erling Haaland is a rare breed of players that we don't have anymore in world football. We only have about 2 of them right now. That's Benzema and Lewandowski. Lewandowski obviously is getting on with age. Benzema also is not a spring chicken like they say. Haaland is prime. He's young, big, strong, fast. He will fit in like a glove. But as a matter of fact, the only other option was Harry Kane. But obviously with the drama at Tottenham and Spurs, that was not going to happen. But right now, trust me, should Haaland sign for City, it is game over. And I'm talking from both aspects. As a football fan and also an analyst, it is game over. We should just write the name of City on the ribbon for the next title. That's the honest truth, because he's young. Just watch how his game will transform. He will score so many goals, except he's not injured though.
However,
but I feel
Pep Guardiola's contract, I believe, ends in 2024. Yes. Buying such a player and then walking away because it seems like he is going to leave at the end of his contract. Buying such a player and building such a team and then leaving. I don't know about you, but when I'm playing my simulation games, whenever I buy a big name player like that, it keeps me around for a little longer.
I would love to see that league table simulation. But the most stressful though, we saw that happen just a few years ago, in fact, almost a decade ago, when Alex Ferguson bought a certain Robin Van Persie just to win the league on his final campaign, and nobody even knew he was leaving because it was Van Persie. Oh, that's another 3-4 years of dominance again, and he just said, "You know what, I'm done." So managers, believe it or not, are very egotistic. They are very myopic in terms of what they want to win for that season. They don't really think of the next season. It's always about what can I achieve this year. So I believe that that is not any different from Mr. Pep. He has that mindset. He's an old school. He's a throwback manager, just like Sir Alex Ferguson and co, who want to dominate football and leave an impression. They are retired when they retire. So he will sign everybody, and he's just leave a legacy.
All right, Victor, it's been a pleasure having you. Thanks again for being on the show.
Same here, brother. Thank you so much for having me.
Have a wonderful day. And to everyone at home, I wish you the same. It's always a pleasure having you join us and choosing Plus Sports on PlusTvAfrica as your destination for all of your sports news needs. My name is Mikhail Tinubu. As I always say, life is never boring with some sports. I'll leave you with some tennis as Dominic Thiem had a comeback in tennis to match a comeback match to end in a 3-set defeat to John Millman at the Serbia Open. Have a wonderful day.